We are in this 15th session, number 15. We need to start with the third chapter of Patanjali Yoga Sutra, that is with Dharana. The first statement is Desh Bandhas Chittasya Dharana. Literally, it would mean Desh is the body domain, or as such, any spatial location. Bandh is to get tied to that. Bandh is like bondage, bonding. So if I fix a spatial location, I tie my mind, my chitta in particular, to that location, and that is dharana. Dharana can be translated into English as concentration. That's the way we have done in our list of, in the scheme of meditation. I would like to show you, because this is where there is a huge misunderstanding, and I will say 99% of people thinking they do meditation, but they are not doing meditation. Why? Because they haven't understood this statement of dharana, and next is dhyan. Dhyan is translated into meditation. So let me show you what Vyas is writing on this statement. So this is the same statement, number 1, Desh Bandhas Chittasya Dharana. So you know Roman translation here. Sorry about that. Now this is Vyas commentary, what I am encircling. In particular, I want to point out the two words here. As such, he is, what I meant by Desh means spatial location. He is offering many possibilities. Navel area, in our chest central part, in our forehead, tip of the nose, tip of the tongue, and so on and so forth. Then he clarifies, it can be even out of our body domain, desheshu bahya. And then he says, also can be an object of interest, va vishaye. So like we take it, an object of interest, that is a sound. Sound is an object of interest for sensory organ of hearing. So that is also permissible. Now the next term is important. Chittasya vritti matren. So there is a vritti, this term has come right from the beginning. Yogas chitta vritti niyodha. So that term chitta is here, vritti is here. So as we have discussed many, many times in this particular course, that chitta has to be understood properly. And we have spent enough time on it. And our conclusion was that the first instrument that I, the self, is observing always is buddhi. And buddhi has the discriminative power. It thinks and evaluates between various options, right and wrong, good and bad, etc. And there are a multitude of, not just binary, there can be a wide spectrum of options, but it discriminates and finally chooses one of them. That is its power of discrimination. Just 1 minute. Now, again, talking in the same metaphor, the self, my fist, is observing the palm, which is the buddhi, which has enormous power. That's what the power of human being is, to evaluate multiple options, whether it is in the incoming knowledge or outgoing action. And finally, discriminate and choose one of them. That is the power of buddhi, intellect. But when I sit for upasana, this is the self. When I say I, the self, consciously wants this instrument to calm down and not use this power of discrimination, which it has. And if I succeed in that, that intellect is not applying its discriminatory power and is relatively calm, quiet, then the same instrument is called a chitta. Now, as we have seen, and we'll see it, the 5 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga that we have discussed in last couple of weeks, they are termed as, and today we'll see that, Bahyang Yoga, meaning outer yoga. So they were more in peripheral nature or preparative. They prepare me so that I make some progress in the inner yoga. So that's why there is a switch over to the 3rd chapter, because the previous 5 limbs were outer yoga. And with dharana, we are entering into the inner yoga, the actual yoga, so to say. Now this jump, and as you recall, in our scheme of Upasana practice, we have a horizontal line dividing the previous 5 limbs and the next 3 limbs. So when we move from Pratyaha, the previous preceding limb of yoga, to dharana, we are actually making the dual jump, twofold. First jump is that we are, when in Pratyaha, we are doing oral recitation of the sound, that is action oriented. We are exciting our vocal cord, one of the organ for a motor organ. As you know, our mind can pick up knowledge coming from 5 sensory organs and can activate 5 motor organs. When I activate 5 motor organs, that is an action-based activity. That is what Pratyaha constitutes. So that is action-based. That is done from outer mind, or what is called as Manomaya Kosh, the outer mind layer. And when we are in the knowledge-based function, when we are 5 sensory organs are sending in something and we are exercising intellectual power, then we are in inner mind. This whole instrument of buddhi or chitta is part of inner mind. That is called Vijnanmaya Kosh. So what I am trying to say is, when we move from Pratyaha to Dharana, Pratyaha was translated as withdrawal from sensory organs. That is part of Bahyang outer yoga. As we intend to move into inner yoga, particularly dharana, which is concentration, then jump number 1 is from Manomaya Kosh to Vijnanmaya Kosh, from outer mind to inner mind. And jump number 2 is, even as I am in the inner mind domain, in particular, I am observing my intellect, buddhi. I want the functions of buddhi to die out. And this instrument should function merely a chitta, what we call as screen, not to operate on the image here, merely to display the image. Please remember these. Buddhi and Chitta are same instrument, but they are functioning in a different manner. When it is functioning Buddhi, it operates on an image, and there is like a cinema. It's a moving one image after another because you are evaluating all the options. But when Vyas is saying Chittas Vritti Matya, what he means is an image is just stationary there. Vritti Matya and Bandha. I am bonded to a single image that is displayed by this particular screen. I am not entertaining the process of thinking. If it were to be thinking, then image after image will be different, is it not? Because I would be evaluating multiple options and finally will conclude one of them. So this is very important that when you are in dharana, you are allowed to have one and only one image here. And if you will recall, in our scheme, that particular image, we call it as mental recitation of the sound Om. If it is oral recitation, then we are in Pratyaha, in the outer. So it must be, and Patanjali is saying, Tad japas tadat bhavanam, means I should go with this recitation. So we cannot be oral recitation. So it is mental recitation. So in my mind, I am reciting. The sound doesn't come out. So my inner mind is engaged with this sound. So now this inner mind, that screen, it can display 5 kinds of knowledge. What is called from one obtained from sight, sound, taste, and smell, and touch. All the 5. So we will use the word image for vritti, but please do not misunderstand it. Image as a visual image. It can be any of these 5 dimensions. So if you recall the taste of a cup of tea you had in the morning, then the taste also appears here. That is also an image. So you are observing the image of the taste of the cup of tea you had in the morning. Now this is not a visual image. So I hope you understand what chit is. Chit is this instrument which has died out. It is capable of doing thinking operation, but you choose not to do so. You want it to remain at its lowest potential. Finally, our objective is that this should become blank. So we want everything to be subdued. So when it is blank, thoroughly subdued, that is called a nirodha. So Chit has 5th state of nirodha avastha when this is blank. Of course, that is our objective, but there is an intermediate step that we want to go through, namely one and one same image is stationary there. If we have achieved that state, that is called Dhyana, meditation. But precursor to Dhyana is Dharana. So in Dharana, I have selected an image and superimposed on my chitta, taking care that I don't process it, I don't operate upon it, otherwise I will get into thinking. So I just observe the image, like a flower or anything. In our scheme, that image is mental recitation of that particular sound. Okay, so that is what is dharana. But in dharana, when I superimpose upon my chitta, some other image comes in. some image is likely to come. That is the nature of this chitta. But then I am very careful. I don't let this displaced. So I bring this chosen image again. But this kind of a ping pong, ball, like something comes in, I throw it away, I bring this image, chosen image again. All this is going to happen in Dharana. But I want to improve upon my meditation practice. So at one point I will succeed. When this chosen image stays there for a good length of time, it is not displaced. And at that moment I say I am in Dhyan, meditation. When the chosen image is sustained for the time duration that I have selected for my practice. So this is the true and representation of what Patanjali is teaching us. Why did I say that people practicing meditation in the world is a nice thing? And that's why people are getting into it. But I will say a large fraction of the people are in Pratyaha, they are in outer yoga. They are not in dharana, nothing to talk about dhyana. Why? Because they have not understood this chitta vritti matra. Only one chitta vritti is allowed to enter into dharana. And you are taking care that you will not let it get displaced. In dharana, it gets displaced, but you come back to it. But if it is sustained, it is dhyan. Now, people don't understand what chitta is, don't understand what chitta vritti, chosen chitta vritti is for to enter into dharana, and they believe they are doing meditation. In the process, they are likely to be thinking. They are most likely they are thinking about something. Because we translated this dharana as concentration. And say a student is reading a book, we will say he is reading a book deep in concentration. But his concentration applies to the book. Yes, he is not letting his attention divert. But when he is reading a book, he is thinking, he is making sense out of the words he is reading. So his instrument of buddhi is functioning as buddhi, it is not chitta. So in the day-to-day world, when we say somebody is in concentration, that concentration is not the concentration of dharana. In dharana, there is no thinking. Now let us talk about what people generally do when they are doing a meditation. Their eyes are closed and they are focused on something. Somebody is observing his breathing, which is a dynamic process. It is not a single chitta vritti. It is a dynamic process. Once there is dynamism, it is not a stationary image. Somebody is listening to, say, very soothing music that helps him do what he calls as meditation. But when you are listening to a music, it may be very nice, soothing music, but then your ears are engaged in bringing in sound, and you are bringing in certain sound, and that sound has certain variations. It's not just one stationary sound. That's what music is made of. So you are listening to a dynamics of sound. That also is not chitta vritti matra, is it not? So, or maybe I have seen some guided meditations. In guided meditation, there is a guide who is saying something, and practitioners are listening to it they are correlatively very calm, but if you are listening to somebody's words, you are bound to make sense out of that word. So this instrument of buddhi will function as buddhi, not as chitta. Since it is not allowed to become chitta, again it cannot be dharana. So I hope you understand the critical ideas what Patanjali and Vyasa are trying to tell us. So this much was about, which I thought was very important, because that's where people don't have proper understanding of what Patanjali Yoga is. Let's go back to Patanjali Yoga Sutra. I had diverted to Vyas. Now he said in his statement, Tattva Pratyaya Ekatanata. Tattva means there in one's, dharana. So he's saying there in dharana. Pratyaya means that chosen image. The chosen image is called vritti, and chosen image is called pratyaya. Pratyaya is, in literal sense, it is called suffix. So suffix as if this has been fixed on your chitta now. Ekatanata means uniformity. So dharana will become dhyan. Dhyan is meditation, meditative state of mind. So dharana will graduate to dhyan, concentration will graduate to meditation if the chosen image, namely pratyaya, has uniformity. Means it just stays what it is there. It is not displaced further. So indirectly meaning in dharana, it was getting displaced for a while. But you were careful, you brought your chosen image again. You did not let it disappear forever. But the same dharana becomes dhyan when it doesn't get displaced. Now statement number 3. Tadev, tad means that, ev means verily, that definitely. Earth means meaning. Mate means only. Nebhasam is known. In first chapter, towards the later part, we had spent some time. The context was savitak and nivitak samapatti. I am sorry, so many technicalities are there, and you might have understood that time, but might have forgotten now. But all that's why is Patanjali Yoga knowledge doesn't come that cheap. It requires a lot of effort. It requires a lot of effort. Okay. So in that context, we had said that whenever I pick up a chittavritti, if I am focused on it, of an object of interest, then there were three intertwined, three things are three in one. Those three technical words in Patanjali's vocabulary were Shabda, Arth, and Jnana. In English, word, meaning, the object, and the means of getting the object. So here in Dhyan, in meditation, that is what described in statement number 2. When you are in meditation, you think you are focused on only one chittavritti, very good. But still, in your mind, there are three possibilities and you might be fluctuating from 1 to 2 to 3, 3 to 1, things like that. So what are those three things? the word, there is an object, that is the earth, that is the object of interest. And it is known by a word. And that is known to you by that particular chittavritti. That is the instrument you are using. That is what carries you to the object. So I gave you at that time an example, a worldly example, not from chittavritti. Say you are looking at your mother's photograph. Now there are three things happening. Your mother. The second is the object, namely the photograph, and the name by which you know her, probably mom or whatever it is. So when you are deeply in concentration in the photo, nothing else obtains your attention. Then Patanjali is saying, even in deep concentration, it is called Triputi. It is three things are, somehow lost within to one. So you may be fluctuating, thinking about your mother, her name she is known by, or the photograph, one of them. But you think you are deeply in concentration on that. That is dhyan, very valid. Now he is saying dhyan will become samadhi now. This is Ashtanga Yoga, 8th limb. When arthamatane bhasam, now you are lost into your mother so much that you are not even aware of the photograph. Though this photograph took you there, but now this photograph has no existence for you because you are lost in your mother, isn't it? And you are not even aware of the word that relates you to your mother. You are just lost into that object of the photograph, namely your mother, isn't it? So this is how dhyan will graduate to samadhi when earth matya nebhasam, only object survives and the word and the instruments are in the background. There is a longish second term, swarup shunya miva. Technically it means, though the photograph is very much there, actually the photograph took you to your mother, but as if it is not there. So he is saying in samadhi, it's not that photograph is lost. Photograph is there, but as if not there, because that photograph only took you there. Anyway, as I said, this was a worldly example. From meditation point of view, dharana becoming dhyan and now samadhi. Now just replace the photograph with the chittavritti. So chittavritti is the instrument, is not the instrument, is chit only, but chittavritti both together. That itself took you to the object. So this is chittavritti. So that's what Patanjali is saying. Chit is very much there, but you are not aware of it. You are now aware of the object that is conveyed by that particular chittavritti. And even the sound, even the word that is associated with that object has gone into background. So a very refined state of dhyan is called as samadhi. That was statement number 3. Now there is a new technical term introduced by Patanjali in statement number 4. The term is called sanyama. We are aware of yama, that was first limb of Ashtanga Yoga. So this term sounds similar. but it is a different word, different term called Sanyama. And what he's saying is, Teyam, three of them, namely preceding three limbs, Dharana, Dhyan, and Samadhi, Ekatra, if they pertain to one and single object of interest, meaning what we started with dharana, that became dhyan, and that further graduated to become samadhi. Indeed, that's the way it should be. If that has happened like this, then you have achieved what is called sanyama. Okay. Statement number 5 says, Tat Jayat, Vajya Aloka. So there are 4 terms all put together as one compound word here. It goes like Tajjayat Vajya Loka. But there are 4 words there. Tat means that meaning Sanyama, the preceding term. Jayat, if you have mastered it, if you have repeatedly done this practice, that dharana, the chosen image has been sustained in dhyan and has further refined that you only have object of interest, that is samadhi. And if you have done it repeatedly on only one object of interest many, many times, then you have mastered it. That would be tajjayat. Pajya is enlightening knowledge. Alok is the light of that knowledge. So what he's saying is, if you have mastered the sanyam over a particular object of interest by repeated practice successfully, then there will be an enlightened piece of knowledge you will be enlightened with. Vajya Aloka. So samadhi will be achieving a result, something like that, after repeated several successful practice. I want to show you chapter 1. Anyway, this was when I was talking Dhyan to Samadhi. Statement 42 in chapter 1 were these 3 words, Shabda Arth Jnana. So when I was saying 3 things are put together. Chapter 142, we talked in terms of Savitarak Samapatti. So 3 things are 3 in 1, so to say. And when that becomes further refined, the language was same. Swarup Shunyu Earth Matya Nebhas. That's the way we just now saw in Samadhi. But here in the context, Savitarak Samapatti becomes Nivitarak Earth Matya Nebhas. Okay. But I want to show you something else. I think that is statement 20 here. Yeah. Chapter 1, statement 20. Here there is a sequence of progress in, of course, chapter 1 is for superior quality people whose clash is very minimal. So to him and to them he is suggesting Shraddha Vijay Smriti. Okay, we have discussed all this. Then this will lead to Samadhi. And then he's saying, after Samadhi, you will get Vajja. Vajja is that intuitive knowledge that we just now saw in the 3rd chapter. In the 3rd chapter, we have seen Tajjayat Vajja Loka, means if I have mastered the art of Sanyam many, many times, then there will be a flash of new knowledge. And here also he is saying same thing. Samadhi, and then there will be Vajja. Now just focus on these 2 words, In Roman, it is here, Samadhi, and then Prajna. Okay. Now I will go to statement 17, which we have discussed, in called Samprajnat Yoga, which were 4 kinds, which are Ananda Smita. Now, Samprajnat Yoga is a state of yoga, a state of samadhi, when samadhi and prajna both have been achieved. So, Samprajnat Yoga has these 2 terms, samadhi and prajna, and that's what we have seen now in a sequence in the 3rd chapter, when he's saying, I'm returning to the 3rd chapter where we are. Tajayat Prajna Loka. Now, when that sort of enlightenment is there, then statement number 6 says, Tasya, this is singular genitive case. Bhumi means ground actually, but you know, this analogy of chitta often is like bhumi. So something appears here, like the earth gives us produce that we eat and we get the taste, sweet or bitter, the same thing. Chitta has chittavritti, and that somehow falls upon me and it gives me sukha, dukh, joy or pain. So this is viewed as bhumi also. Now here the context is this prajna, when your samadhi has been mastered enough that you are getting enlightened piece of knowledge, then that should be grounded, probably multiplicity. You should now get a different object of interest and get its related intuitive knowledge. So that is needs to be grounded here, and that grounding is being emphasized. Now statement number 7, again the term is Teyam. That was also there in Sanyam, 3 of them. Here we see Teyam means Te. And again statement number 7 we see Teyam. So Teyam means Dharana, Dhyana and Samadhi, the later 3 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga. Now he is saying Teyam Antayangam Purvebhya. These 3 are Antayanga. Ang is limbs, inner limbs of yoga, of 8 limbs yoga. So they are inner limbs of Ashtanga Yoga with respect to the previous 5. So indirectly he's saying the previous 5 were outer limbs of Ashtanga Yoga. So now he is justifying why he has changed the chapter as he moved from Pratyahara to Dharana. He is offering the reason, saying the previous 5 limbs were outer limbs of yoga, whereas these are inner limbs of yoga. Now here, up till now, he has told us the steps for dharana, dhyan, samadhi, and those sanyam, and sanyam gives rise to prajna, enlightenment. And now he is saying in statement number 8, tadapi, let me bring it up slightly. So number 8, tadapi, that means that Api means even then, even that, vahi angam, even that is actually outer limbs with respect to nivijasya. So first chapter had ended with nibij samadhi. I can show you. This was the ending of the last statement of the chapter 1 was Nivija Samadhi, Nivija Samadhi, seedless, without seed. So seed are the clash in Ahankar. As long as they are there, we come back into the world. So now Nivij Samadhi is when there are no seeds. And a few statements before then, this was 51. And in 46, he's saying, Savija Samadhi, with seeds. So he is progressively in Samadhi, there are different stages. Though Samadhi is supposedly the last eighth limb of Ashtanga Yoga, but once you enter into Samadhi, there are several subdivisional layers, so to say. So this is in 46, you are in Samadhi, with Savija means those seeds are still lying there. And then you end up finally at 51, then it is Nivij Samadhi. So let's return to the third chapter where we are. What we saw is statement number 7 said that Dharana, Dhyan, and Samadhi are inner yoga, whereas the previous 5 were outer yoga. Now in statement number 8, he says, Tadapi Vahiyangam, even Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi, the 3 of them, so-called inner yoga, they are also in the outer periphery with respect to Nibij Samadhi. That is our ultimate objective. So he's saying that this also is outer yoga because he has talked up to Samadhi and Prajna, some Prajnat yoga, where the Chit is displaying the flash of intuitive knowledge, but our klesh sanskars are lying in Ahankar unit. Now one has to do this over and over. Even Sampajat Yoga has 4 subdivisions. We have seen it. Vitark, Vichar, Ananda, Smita. Even when we have cleared all of that, the seeds are still lying there. Then we will have Asampajat Yoga, means this is Nirudhavastha. There is nothing in the Chitra, displays absolutely nothing. And then gradually those seeds are burnt out, and then finally I will be Nivij Samadhi. Let's go quickly through as such next 3 or 4 statements in this chapter. I think I stop here, otherwise I stop here now, justifying by saying that the third chapter, the way Ashtanga Yoga has been presented by Patanjali, is dharana, concentration. You have wide open field. freedom to choose any chittavetti as your starting point. But in our particular scheme, let me describe in next few minutes the beauty of our scheme, which is that we forego that freedom and our chosen images for dharana is what we call as mental recitation of the sound. That being the chosen image, and as you know, the recitation of this sound is called as Ishwar Pranidhan. Should I show it again? I think you are well aware of all this. Just going back to first chapter, slightly after the statement number 20th I showed you. This was statement number 20, Samadhi and Prajna together. And then he's saying, then he goes into an efficient mechanism. And that efficient mechanism, he calls it as Ishwar Pranidhan, statement 23. Now, Ishwar Pranidhan, first he allots a few more statements for Ishwar, and then he describes Ishwar Pranidhan as Tad Japas Tadat Bhavan. Ishwar is known by the sound Pranav, and its jap is a citation. That is, he characterizes that as Ishwar Pranidhan. So this Ishwar Pranidhan, which also is in Niyam, you have seen it. In Ashtanga Yoga, Niyam, I am doing flip-flop now because I want to justify. So this was 8 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga, chapter 2, statement 29, and slightly later, Niyam, the second limb, Short Santosh Tap Swadhyaya Ishwar Pranidhan. So Ishwar Pranidhan is there in the second limb of Ashtanga Yoga, namely Niyam. Now this suggestion that is from Maharishi Dayanand about 130-40 years ago, that you follow Ashtanga Yoga, but your chosen image, Chittavetti for dharana is specific, what is jap of Pranav Dhvani, Pranav sound. And that is what we have seen in chapter 1 is called as Ishwar Pranidhan. And that Ishwar Pranidhan is included in Ashtanga Yoga in the 5th element of the second limb of Niyam. So I'm just trying to say this is an excellent idea. Within the scope of Patanjali Yoga, we are not going out of it. And it simplifies. In Dayanand's time, he didn't bother to teach people how to characterize yourself in category 1, 2, or 3. He gave a prescription as if one size fits all. He says, follow Ashtanga Yoga. But then when it comes to dharana, he gave a specific chittavetti, namely a recitation of the sound known as Pranav. And that recitation is Ishwar Pranidhan. And Ishwar Pranidhan is very much in Ashtanga Yoga. So there is no quarrel about it. Now when we do it, then we are following Ashtanga Yoga. And Ashtanga Yoga, as Patanjali says, is Chitta Ashuddhi Kshaya. Statement 28. Ashuddhi Kshaya, the impurities will be washed out gradually. And then you graduate to the second category. Okay? In second category, Klesh is significant, but Chit is now no more impure. Chit is pure. Now one does not do anything wrong. No other, So, by following Ashtanga Yoga in this particular manner, up to certain point, I may not even be aware of it, but I will graduate to the category number 2. And it's fine, you go on. And then I am doing the same meditation practice. So we never change our scheme, it is the same. And as we progress further in for second category, we are in now Kriya Yoga. And in Kriya Yoga also we see, this is statement number 1, chapter 2. Tapaswadhyaya Ishwar Pranidhan. So for second category also, Ishwar Pranidhan is a valid prescription and we are doing that. What will happen? Klesh Tanu Karanathas. Our klesh will also die out. And then whether you know it or not, you will graduate to become a person in the top category, in the first category. And in the first category now, again Patanjali has a scheme of Ishwa Pranidhan. Just now we saw it, here it is, chapter 123. And with this Ishwa Pranidhan, the whole story ends at chapter statement 29. Everything is done. The ultimate is achieved. So the beauty of this scheme is, it is Ashtanga Yoga, but chosen with is a citation of Om. That is what is Ishwar Pranidhan. Ishwar Pranidhan is very much there in Ashtanga Yoga. So the Anand suggestion is within the purview of Ashtanga. But that helps me graduate to second category. And in second category, Kriya Yoga again includes Ishwar Pranidhan, mandatory. So in Kriya Yoga and in Ashtanga Yoga, Ishwar Pranidhan is mandated. And that is what I have chosen. Kriya Yoga, as I said, graduates me to Kriya Yoga now. As I follow, I am doing nothing. I am, the practitioner doesn't have to be aware of when he has moved from Ashtanga Yoga to Kriya Yoga, or when he has become third category to two category. He doesn't. All these changes happen within himself, which he may notice or may not notice. But as far as his practice is concerned, his practice is taking him from category 3 to 2, and now as his clash is diminishing, now this part become operational. Sorry, the Ishwar Pranidhan, chapter 1, from 23 to 29. And this was a closer. I probably pointed it out. So this is another closer. There are 3 closures in chapter 1. This is closer number 2 for those who have chosen Ishwar Pranidhan as his efficient mechanism. So here it is the closer. So it's all done. So that is a discussion on Patanjali Yoga Sutra, means of Upasana. It was defined as Yoga Chittavritti Niyodha. We have seen from Samkhya that Chit, the mind as a whole, has 3 components: Buddhi, Ahankara, and Mana. Now Patanjali is calling Buddhi as Chitta when it ceases to exercise any discriminative function. Now, of course, as a practitioner, we want to know where these vrittis are coming from so that we can fight them off better. And in Sankhya, we have studied at length that all these sanskars are lying in the unit of mind called Ahankara. And therefrom, all the vrittis are popping out. That is by very nature of the instruments. Knowing now what chit is, knowing where these vrittis are coming from, we are theoretically well placed to understand Patanjali's scheme of Chitta Vritti Niyodha. So that these two were the two pillars, Ahankara and Chit, of this course. And third pillar I described was we know the flowchart of Patanjali. Chapter 1, Yoga for category 1. Chapter 2, Kriya Yoga, which is appendix to 1 for middle second category, and Ashtanga Yoga for third category. So that was our third pillar. The fourth one that I pointed out today is contribution from my Dayanand, that all the people in the world, they don't have to bother whether they are what category they are. They can follow Ashtanga Yoga. And in Dharana, the chosen vritti is a citation of that sound. That itself is Ishwar Pranidhan, which is mandatory in Ashtanga Yoga as well as in Kriya Yoga. So we do not have to go through all the aspects of Ashtanga Yoga. We, knowingly or unknowingly, we will find ourselves in category 2. And then suddenly that door opens. Category 2 people, we are now doing, we think we are doing Ashtanga Yoga, but actually we are doing Kriya Yoga. And then we will find ourselves in category 1 and following Ishwar Pranidhan part of chapter 1. So this is the scheme, and this is what we have borrowed and understood from all the great rishis. And in next probably 2 sessions, I will make some closing remarks, and then we can very well end this course, maybe 2 more weeks. That this is a very valid scheme, simple enough, as we have practiced and we continue to practice. And it's, of course, the theoretical content requires great deal of attention and great deal of effort, but the scheme is very simple. So much so, I try to say, and that's the way it should be. Upasana should be as simple as a child going to his mother's lap, which no child has to be taught how to go and approach his mother. It is natural, simple, and indeed that's the way it is. Let me bring that slide now. We will devote a very short, maybe just 10 minutes to 10 minutes, I mean, in the step 4, 5, 6, because that is what is inner yoga. That actually is true yoga. So I will put my timer at 10 minutes and switch on when we are at step number 4. Okay. By now we are familiar with these steps. Let's put our body frame in a very comfortable posture. The idea is disconnection. So if you bundle it properly, then it doesn't send in any signal when you are in meditation. That is defined as stay sukham, unwavering and comfortable posture. I will make a very simple pranayam, number 2. Very simple, 3 cycles, but each cycle with only 2 phases. Here it begins. Deep breathe out. Deep breathe in. Deep breathe out. Deep breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. That is our step number 2 to discipline our breathing. Now step number 3. Of course, in Ashtanga Yoga, you have to add number 2. So our asana is number 3. 1 becomes 3, 2 becomes 4, and step number 3 will become 5. Pratyaha, withdrawal from the sensory organs. Let's recite that sound 3 times together and then move into this menstrual recitation. So that is our chosen default state. If anything else comes in your mind, return back to mental recitation of Om. Here begins oral recitation. Om. 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 So that concludes our session number 15. Any questions or comments? Welcome.
आचार्य जी नमस्ते।
Namaste.
ये मूर्धनी ज्योतिषी का क्या अर्थ है?
I think it is what are called as 8 chakras. So he is going through all from lower part to the top.
Oh, I see. Okay, okay. और एक और शब्द था तस्य भूमिषु विनियोगा। विनियोगा का क्या अर्थ है?
Application. We should apply it.
Okay. आचार्य जी बहुत दिनों बाद आज फिर से ये एक ऐसी चीज है, थोड़ी सी भी बीच में छूट जाती है तो ऐसे लगता है कि बहुत बड़ा गैप आ गया। और मेरे में 1 महीना पूरा मुझे इतना दुख है इसका मेरा कुछ मिस हुआ है, मैं क्लास से नहीं अटेंड करी। आज मुझे बहुत ही ऐसे अच्छा लगा कि फिर से पता नहीं क्या मिल गया है मुझे। धन्यवाद आचार्य जी।
Yeah, we are recording it, so
हाँ जी, नहीं मैं
somebody misses it.
हाँ जी,
catch up, you know.
I will catch up before the next lesson. हाँ जी, so far I didn't.
नमस्ते आचार्य जी।
नमस्ते नमस्ते।
लगभग खत्म हो रहा है और जो वही होता ना, जब रामायण खत्म हो जाती तो एकदम से आदमी भूल जाता सीता जी कहाँ से आई थी, कैसे आई। तो मैंने कहा या तो मैं पूरी पोथी लेके बैठूं और आई शुड आस्क यू एंड लेट मी बी लिटिल शेमलेस। I think if I do Swadhyay, I'll find it out. But since you are there before us, it's a very, when we say, Acharya ji, that by doing meditation, we reach Nirbij Samadhi, Prati Prasav of our Klesh. So, and that is the baggage of Klesh, that is the cause of our birth and death we keep taking. Let's say we get that moksha. So, Acharya ji, where do sanskar go? The klesh have been done. It's a prati prasav, you would say, instead of dagd, that they have been burned or they have gone back to the root. But जो संस्कार है आचार्य जी, they also remain with the mind, with the purush. So even at the moksha stage, if there are no klesh, but there would be the reminiscences.
You know, sanskar is a general term. What is the vessel is ahankar. Ahankar is the vessel and its content is sanskar. Now sanskar are broadly 2 kinds. One is klesh and one is not klesh.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to the mukti, moksha part, then all the sanskars must vanish.
Even the good one?
Even the good ones. Because you will be separated from them. You know, the bonding is the knot between you and buddhi.
Mm-hmm.
And then buddhi has many other, it's like a railway carriage. But the knot is between you and buddhi. They have been tied together.
So does it happen simultaneously, the klesh and then finally sanskar? Because we talk until klesh. That is what,
what as I have understood, when your practice goes on, goes on. So I can show you that.
But I hope it's a valid question. I was very, very worried to ask you this, but I always felt, I mean, where do sanskar go? We talk klesh seeds.
Yeah, it comes from the end of the chapter 1. So you will then appreciate it. I'm showing you the statement 50, last but one of chapter 1.
Yeah.
What he's saying.
Taja sanskaro.
So this is, he is describing the Sabis to Nevi Samadhi. He's describing that process. So he's saying towards the end, Tajah sanskaro. As even when we sit for meditation, that gives rise to sanskar. Like today we did a practice. So anything you do, there is a impression of that.
Yes.
Is it? So towards the end, he's saying, when your samadhi is in a more refined quality, ja means giving birth. It gives birth to sanskar. What does that do? That is anya sanskar pratibandhi. The new sanskar will die out the previous one. Are
Okay.
you following?
Yes, yes.
Now finally he says in Nevi Samadhi, tasyapi nayodhe. So even this sanskar will give rise to vritti, because every sanskar gives rise to a vritti. These are very good sanskars, but they are also giving rise to vritti at the high level of samadhi. Tasyapi nayodhe, if I subdue them also, then everything is subdued, and that is Nevi Samadhi. The idea is, your klesh is a unwarranted sanskar. But we don't, we give rise to the positive sanskar as we learn Upasana. Let's see, as we study Samkhya and Yoga, we are building some sanskars, is it not? As we sit every day for Upasana practice, we are building some sanskars. But these are positive sanskars, which will help us die out the negative ones. Now, even this sanskar, like today's practice, is very superficial, is intermediate in nature. It helps me make progress in my Upasana practice. But as my practice gets better, I build new sanskar, and that new sanskar kills the previous sanskar, which was slightly inferior practice. Are you able to follow?
Yeah.
As your practice is improving, you are day by day generating a better quality of sanskar that helps you kill the sanskar of when your practice was not that good. So your personality is becoming different, Personality is nothing but all our impressions.
Yes.
5 years ago, you started, say, some meditation practice, or 10 years ago, whatever it is. At that time, you were at a very basic level. Now, those impressions are also lying there. But today, when you sit for practice, you just go to a much better state, is it not? Because you are driven today by the Upasana sanskar that you have built recently. And that recent sanskars have killed the sanskars that were built 10 years ago. If 10 years ago sanskar is still there, then your practice will be same as what it used to be 10 years ago. Is it not?
Yeah.
Because sanskar is impatience. So you easily do what your impatience are already there. For example, you have a certain method of driving because you have built that sanskar over 20 years, 30 years. Now an expert comes suddenly and he points out one defect in your driving practice. Now you have to be very careful because that impatience has been built up for 20 years. Now you decide, okay, I have to change that habit. Now you will be very conscious and bring in new sanskar, new practice, so that the old practice sanskar is killed away, died out. Is it not? Like they say, old habits die hard.
Yeah.
So this,
Asking question.
anything you do is a sanskar. So as we have seen in the last statement of Patanjali's, even as our Upasana practice is getting more and more refined, it gives rise to new sanskar, but new sanskar will pratibandhi of the previous one, anya sanskar. Is it not? Now finally he says, if you remember, I have tried to explain by an example, which I think is a good example because this is coming from Vyasa also. He looks at this journey as climbing uphill, So when you are climbing uphill, now, and because mukti, moksha is isolation, so to say. When you are alone, there is nothing. No, there is no peripheral. So the reason I say that is because imagine the hill is such that at the summit of the hill, you are alone. Alone meaning your 2 feet, your 2 feet can just barely stand there. That is, you have to imagine like that. Now you are climbing. So you use all kinds of assets. You have ropes and this and sticks and whatnot, all those things. But once you get to the real top, the final step will be, you will jump 2 steps, both feet fall on the summit, that is a small platform, and you make that jump with the help of the catches you have. But other thing you will do is you will throw away the catches. You will do both the things simultaneously. Your last jump will be with the help of the catches, but the nature of the jump is that you throw away the catches also.
It's like pole vault example.
Yeah. So that's what Patanjali is saying. You build the new sanskar, but in the last step is such that doesn't build a sanskar, but kills the previous sanskar. So your last step should not build another sanskar. If it builds another sanskar, then you are still here. So what they say is, it is a climb uphill, and when you reach there, then you say, this is called Katkatyata. I have done what was supposed to be done. I have done it. So that was the objective of the human life. Okay, I think that was good. Thank you all.
Thank you.
I think we'll have a couple of more sessions, 2 or 3 at most.
This-
That should end the course.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you all.